What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council has offered some leniency on a controversial demand that could see thousands of Chinese spouses scrambling to prove their right to reside in Taiwan. Reese reports.
Relief for some Chinese spouses in Taiwan after the government announces a new list of exemptions and delays to a controversial administrative request. The announcement from the Mainland Affairs Council, or MAC, comes after it received backlash from several groups protesting a recent demand for over 10,000 Chinese spouses and their children to provide documentation from China or face deportation. Chinese citizens seeking to gain civic rights in Taiwan are required by law to give up their household registration in China. And last week, the MAC said that those missing proof that they've done that have 3 months to go back to China and get it, with a few exceptions. On Wednesday afternoon, the MAC revealed 2 extra categories of people who are exempt from the demands for documents, in addition to the 4 existing ones. Already exempt were people who can't return to China over concerns for personal safety, those who moved to Taiwan before they were 7 years old, people with health issues or a disability that would make travelling back difficult, and those that haven't been back to China since the beginning of 2015. And the 2 new groups, people over 70 years old and people who may not be able to afford to go back to China. The MAC also announced a brand new list of groups who can delay submitting those documents, including those unable to fly due to personal commitments, for example, their military service, caregivers for children, sick people or elderly, and anyone who's pregnant. The National Immigration Agency, who handles such processes, has said they'll review all cases one by one, considering humanitarian needs and the law, a message echoed by the MAC.
不管遇到怎么样的困难，都可以向移民署、陆委会或海基会来反映，政府一定会尽最大的可能来协助民众排除障碍，也会考量个案的状况，适度延长办理期限。
As for these new allowances and how they'll be received by those protesting the original demands, they'll likely have more to say in the coming days. But for some Chinese spouses, at least exemption, and for others, a bit more time to get the things they need to continue living their lives in Taiwan. Liao and Reese for TaiwanPlus.
Prosecutors are seeking to detain 6 people connected to Taiwan's main opposition Kuomintang. It comes amid an investigation into suspected forged signatures on several lawmaker recall petitions. Prosecutors have carried out sweeping investigations at dozens of opposition Kuomintang branch offices in northern Taiwan. Now they want to detain 6 people affiliated with the party and hold them incommunicado. Detention hearings are scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. The charges: suspicion of forging signatures on petitions to recall lawmakers from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. The DPP and KMT are locking horns in efforts to recall each other's lawmakers. Part of that process involves getting signatures from the public. If enough are collected, they can bring it to a vote to remove legislators from office. Prosecutors say they received a tip about fraudulent signatures on petitions supporting the KMT's recall campaigns. At the heart of the situation, the names of deceased people showing up on the party's petitions, or so-called ghost signatures.
第一阶段针对我的补件，联署前死亡的比例竟然高居全国第一，很明显是大规模的伪造。我希望司法查清楚，到底是谁在背后指使抄名册的行为。
The KMT says prosecutors' actions are politically motivated, and the DPP is using its power to go after the KMT's recall movement.
司法应该是公平正义的代表，在台湾却变成独裁者，变成统治者的大刀，变成他的工具，用来砍向在野党。
The KMT's reaction was immediate and, in one case, extreme. One person leading a recall campaign for the party was summoned to the prosecutor's office for questioning. He showed up brandishing a swastika armband and a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf and was photographed giving a Nazi salute. He's not one of the 6 people prosecutors hoped to detain and was released on bail. But his actions have since drawn condemnation from Israel and Germany's representative offices in Taiwan.
These are in direct contradiction to everything that Taiwanese people believe: democracy, human rights, civil rights, tolerance, coexistence. I strongly condemn and I deeply regret, and I'm very concerned about the use of these Nazi symbols.
The KMT has tried to distance itself from the man. The party's youth league released a statement saying it strongly condemns the use of Nazi symbols as a means of political expression. KMT chair Eric Zhu has indicated he thinks the man was equating the DPP's alleged abuse of power with the authoritarian German regime. The DPP says that the KMT's actions are egregious and merit action.
死亡联署最主要是户政事务所查对出来的结果。台北市政府的选委会主委李泰兴是蒋万安任命的代表，他清楚地说出事实。
Taiwan's Central Election Commission has said that of the 61 recall petitions it received, 41 potentially contain ghost signatures. On Wednesday, the commission announced that both KMT and DPP petitions have come under scrutiny. Those cases have already been forwarded to the authorities. Justin Wu and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. Taiwan's military says it has discovered 62 service members holding Chinese residence permits. Defense Minister Wellington Koo told lawmakers that none of the personnel in question hold a Chinese passport or ID card. The military says officers with residence permits can't be assigned to sensitive areas, such as intelligence gathering. Taiwan is seeing an unprecedented level of espionage cases involving the recruitment of active and former military members. Koo says plans are underway to reform the military penal code to counter China's espionage efforts. Defense Minister Koo has been grilled at the legislature over the string of recent spy cases, some reportedly including people close to the former foreign minister. As Rick Liao reports, Taiwan is facing an uphill battle against Chinese infiltration.
Could a spy for China have infiltrated the inner circles of Taiwan's government? The man, identified here with a red circle, was an aide to Joseph Wu, the country's last foreign minister and current national security chief. He's now detained, suspected of gathering information on Taiwan's leadership and passing it on to China, a cross-strait neighbour which claims sovereignty over Taiwan. Such cases of espionage are on the rise here, with most of the suspects being military personnel. Now feeling the heat, Taiwan's Defense Minister Wellington Koo called to answer questions at the legislature.
政治局在搞什么？我10年来支持你们，这个案子一个直接接一个，层出不穷。我们自己当过兵知道，你在营区拿5星旗挥舞，部队有没有烂掉？
To weed out spies, Taiwan is already bringing back military courts, and now Koo says he wants to amend the military's penal code.
投降的这样子效忠的这样子的一个表示的时候，就本身就会构成违反陆海空军刑法。那另外投敌的部分，我们加了阴谋犯跟预备犯的部分。
President Lai Ching-te, despised by Beijing for his firm rejection of China's claims over Taiwan, has made combating Beijing's influence and infiltration central to his leadership. This rash of suspected spies coming out of the woodwork could indicate that his efforts against China, also known as the PRC, are working.
There's a claim that the PRC is stepping up its espionage activities. That having been said, with espionage cases coming to the public, of course, they create a lot of trepidation. They create they draw a lot of attention. But the fact that espionage cases are being detected also means that espionage networks are being disrupted, right?
Taiwan's defense ministry warns that China's tactics are changing, increasingly using criminal gangs and religious groups to recruit new spies. It's an evolving threat for the Taiwanese military, trying to protect their credibility and integrity as they lead the country's fight against China. Klein Wang and Rick Liao for TaiwanPlus.
President Lai, who is also chair of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, has promised to root out spies from his party as well. He's said party officials must report before and after they travel to China, including Hong Kong and Macau, or meet Chinese officials. One person has been killed and 10 others are missing after a dredging ship capsized in the waters off the Philippines coast. The Coast Guard says a crew of 25 were on board, 13 Filipinos and 12 Chinese nationals. So far, 14 people have been rescued. The Coast Guard says the sand carrier remains partially submerged with some crew members possibly trapped in the engine room. The crew member who died has been confirmed to be a Chinese citizen. China has appointed a new trade negotiator as the country's tariff war with the U.S. escalates. Li Chenggang previously served as Beijing's envoy to the World Trade Organization. He was Assistant Commerce Minister during Donald Trump's first term. Li replaces Wang So-wen, who had held the position since 2022. The change comes as the U.S. and China impose mounting tariffs on each other, with both sides refusing to back down. The U.S. and China remain deadlocked in their retaliatory tariff sparring match. The White House now says it's waiting for Beijing to play its hand. Joyce Sung has the latest.
The world's largest economy is still in a standoff with its closest rival. U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods remain at 145%, and China's strike back on American goods at 125%, a retaliation match that has sent global markets down. The White House says that it's up to Beijing to make a move.
The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them.
U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said that his relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping is great, suggesting talks are imminent. Meanwhile, Trump has expanded investigations into potential new tariffs, now targeting imports of critical minerals, a lot of which comes from China. Earlier this month, Beijing already limited exports of 7 types of rare earth minerals, penalizing the U.S. for its high tariff rates. Over in Malaysia, Xi Jinping touched down for his second stop in a 3-country visit to Southeast Asia. The Chinese leader has already signed dozens of deals with Hanoi to boost cooperation and is set to do the same in Kuala Lumpur and Phnom Penh. Beijing says its economy has grown in the first quarter of the year, beating expectations.
国内生产总值31.87万亿人民币。 按不变价格计算，同比增长5.4%。
At the same time, it warned that steep U.S. tariffs will add, quote, certain pressures on China's economy. On Chinese social media, AI-generated memes mocking the U.S.'s goal of reviving domestic manufacturing have gone viral. But among Chinese exporters, a more serious tone. At a trade show at a southern Chinese shipping hub, firms are hoping the U.S. and China will strike a deal to lower the levies.
对于我们来说，伤害是很大的，因为我们主要的市场也在美国。
关税在调整，也是我们行业洗牌的一个过程，优胜劣汰。
As Trump's tariff policy continues to evolve, fears of a global recession run high. Many watching in anticipation, wary of where the trade battle between the world's 2 largest economies could go. Scott Huang and Joyce Sun for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese golf star Heather Ling is stepping up her game, competing in her first Ladies Professional Golf Association tournament.
其实会有点紧张，但是现在我觉得越来越适应，然后越来越就 comfortable 吧。对，我当然是希望能为国争光，就是像雅妮姐这样子，她那时候带来这样对台湾高尔夫带来这样的影响。
The 25-year-old qualified for a spot in the LPGA after winning last year's Epson Tour Championship. She was born and raised in Taiwan before attending the University of Oregon, where she led her school team to a national championship in 2022. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.